What's up, you guys? I'm back! I know it's been a while, and I know this is supposed to be a makeup channel, but I simply do not have the equipment yet to film actual tutorials for you guys. So I'm back with another story, and this one's wild from start to finish, let me tell you. From point A to point B, 36 hours. That's it. A day and a half. I got catfished. Okay, that's the story. I got catfished, and it's insane. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. My friend, her name is Annie. Her real name's not Annie, but I'm not going to be using real names in this story to protect the privacy of the people involved. Okay, so my friend Annie is a good friend of mine. We roleplay together online. That's what I do. I roleplay online, I write stories, that kind of thing. So she messages me saying, hey, there's this profile that I think you might like to chat up. Because it's all Greek mythology. She knows how much I love Greek mythology. So I add the profile and we get a storyline going. And that happened for a couple of weeks, okay? So there's not a lot of chit chat there. There's not a lot of talking. Just the occasional, hey, how you been? I gotta go to work, so I'm not gonna be online until later kind of thing. We didn't really talk at all at first. And then, a couple weeks pass and our storyline is going great. The messages are getting slightly more frequent. There's still not a lot there, but there's enough to kind of hint that, hey, I'd kind of like to get to know you. You seem like you kind of like to get to know me, kind of thing. We'd like to get to know each other. So I'm telling my friend Annie about this guy. Let's call him Brody. No offense to Brody's out there, but it sounds like a douchebaggy name, so I'm gonna use it. I've never had good experience with people named Brody. So this guy, we're gonna call him Brody. He gives Annie his Google Hangouts, and she gives it to me. And so, we were talking a lot for a couple of hours, and then it starts going to flirting, like hardcore, playful flirting. I love flirting. I think it's fun. I do it a lot. I do it with my friends. They flirt with me back. It's a great time. So I'm flirting with Brody, and we're talking, we're getting to know each other. Everything seems to be going great. He really seems, like a cool person. He seems funny. He seems cute. I mean, we don't know what each other looks like yet, but that's not a big deal. We're just talking and flirting and having fun. I don't really need to know what he looks like. He doesn't really need to know what I look like. So we're just talking. And it starts turning into him hinting about this girl he likes. So I start playing dumb. I'm fishing for answers, thinking, okay, I see what you're doing. You're talking about me, but I'm gonna play innocent and get you to confess it. So I start asking him questions, and he's hedging around it, and eventually he apparently freaks out and accidentally lets slip that it's my friend Annie he's into, not me. And so I'm feeling disappointed at this point, because I love flirting, but I'm not going to flirt with a guy who's into somebody else, because that's just not a thing I do. I don't flirt with people I know who aren't into me, who I know for a fact like somebody else. But keep in mind that Annie's got a boyfriend, and Brody knows this. So I'm telling my friend Annie that he likes her, because that's what good friends do. Like, hey, Brody's into you. Does he know that you're taken? Does he know that you live in a different state? Does he know any of this? And Annie's like, yeah, he knows I don't live anywhere near him. He knows I'm totally in love with my boyfriend. He's not into me. I'm not supposed to be saying this, but he likes you. And I'm just like, what? What's going on here? And she's like, well, he's talking to me. He's really freaking out that he messed up. He said the wrong thing. He, etc., etc. Okay, so I message him, and he starts going on and on about how he's a bad person. Now, red flag number 1 that I ignored. Keep in mind, I ignored all of these red flags until the last minute because I'm an idiot. Red flag number 1 that I ignored, he is very, very overly dramatic. Very overly dramatic. He will not shut up about how he's a bad person, how he's no good, how he's a liar and a fraud. That's foreshadowing. He's claiming to be a fraud. Well, turns out he was. But more about that later. So, he will not shut up about how he's such a horrible person. And yes, for that minor mistake of saying that he likes somebody else instead of me. Something a lot of people do, right? Like, you're into somebody, but you think they don't like you back, so when they ask who you like, you panic and you blurt out somebody else's name. It's not a big deal, but he is turning this into a shitstorm. So I'm fighting with this guy for 12 hours for him to tell me what's wrong, and he doesn't. Not for 12 hours does he eventually cave and admit, I frigging love you. And I'm just sitting there like, what? I mean, we've been talking for, like, not even 24 hours? And you're saying you're in love with me? Okay, I'll admit that's another red flag to have somebody tell you they love you after not even 24 hours. That's really, really creepy. But I wasn't thinking that it was creepy. I was thinking, oh my God, somebody loves me. Like, somebody's in love with me. That's a good feeling to have somebody in love with you. And I'm stupid. Okay? My friends know this. I know this. My parents know this. I'm not smart when it comes to people. At all. So, he finally admits to loving me, and then it seems to go good for a couple of hours, and then we both go to bed. Okay? After a 12-hour shit storm. I wish I still had screenshots for you guys, but I ended up having to block him on Hangouts, and that erased our conversation before I could really get screenshots, so I'm really sorry. I wish I could just read some of these out loud for you guys, because it's gold. But unfortunately, I don't have any of that. If I end up finding any screenshots, I will definitely make a follow-up video if you guys want it. But for now, let's keep going in the story. We both go to bed. Brody and I, we're going to bed. Annie's going to bed. She seems relieved that everything is working out. All right. I wake up the next morning to a message on Hangouts from Brody. It says, hey, listen, we need to talk. There's something I need to tell you. So I'm like, okay, yeah, what's up? And he says, I wasn't totally honest with you last night. I didn't want to tell this to you, but I feel like you deserve to know. And then he says, I have AIDS. And then I'm like, okay, you have AIDS. That's not something I'm going to abandon you for. There's nothing wrong with people who have AIDS. They deserve to be happy too. So I start doing research about AIDS so that I can legitimately help this guy. This guy who is apparently 23. Keep in mind, I'm 19, so I'm still kind of young. He says he's 23 and he thought even that was too old for me, but, it's not, in my opinion. If there's a 5-year or less age gap, I'm totally fine. But if it's any more than that, I don't like it. But this guy, I genuinely want to help him, so I'm doing research on AIDS, and then he starts messaging me saying, we can never be together because I have AIDS. If I hug you and cry on you, you'll catch it. If I kiss you, you'll catch it. And me, at this point, having already done research, I sent him the article saying, you're not going to get AIDS from kissing, you're not going to get AIDS from tears or any of that, and then he says, okay, I'm going to go to work, we're going to talk about this when I get back, and then he says goodbye and I love you, and I'd say goodbye too, and then he comes back from work and he says, I have a confession, and my face just went, boy, what's now? I thought we were getting better, I thought we were over this, I thought that things were turning around. No, things are going downhill. So he says, I have a confession. And I'm like, and what's that? And he messages me back saying, I don't have AIDS. I have a brain tumor. And then this is another red flag. Red flag number 1, he doesn't want to send a picture of his face. Red flag number 2, he's extremely dramatic and apparently already in love with me. Red flag number 3 now. Red flag number 3 is that he keeps changing his story about why we can't be together. Just keeps changing it. First it was he's a shitty person, then it was AIDS, and then it was cancer, and this is in about 24 hours. Little less, probably. And then he says, so I've only got a couple years left. I'm not responding to any treatments. That's why we can't be together. So I'm like, okay, brain tumor. That's not as bad as AIDS because there's no risk of me getting cancer from you. So I don't see why we can't be together. I mean, I know this is a long distance thing. I'm in the Midwest, you're in Massachusetts, but I'm saving up, you're saving up. Eventually we're going to be able to get together in person and we're going to be able to make this work. And he is just telling me, I've only got a couple years. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want you to have to miss me. It's better if we just stay distant so that nothing bad can happen between us, etc., etc. More dramatics. Because he will not shut up. I keep trying to reassure him. He will not listen to a single word I am saying. Alright? So, fast forward to that night. Things have gotten better after that conversation. We had a few hours, just a few measly hours of normal conversation. Keep in mind, 24 hours. And we've barely had a good conversation in that. Out of 24 hours, probably 18 of them were his dramatics and me trying to reassure him. That is not a good start to any kind of relationship, even a friendship. That's not a good start to any of that. But I ignored it because I thought, hey, he's sweet, he's funny, he's really, really nice when we have these good conversations. He's just not in a good place right now. He's got a brain tumor. He's really upset about a lot of things. He's really scared, and we have some good conversations, and in a couple hours of these good conversations, he tells me a story about how he adopted a kid. And then, then we start flirting again, and the flirting gets really, really, steamy. Pictures are involved. Okay? I know. Don't judge me. Not a mistake on my part, but hey. I was having fun. I was living in the moment. I thought it was great. And then, then 10 minutes later, he starts sounding drunk in his messages. He's misspelling so many words. He's got absolutely shitty ass grammar. He sounds drunk. So I'm thinking, maybe he is drunk. And then he starts telling me how he's gonna go to bed because he doesn't feel well. So I'm like, okay, good night. I should probably get some sleep too, because at this point it's probably 12:31 in the morning. And then a little bit later, maybe 10 minutes later, he messages me saying, I can't sleep. I have this really, really pounding headache. I cannot sleep. And so, I just keep messaging him, trying to make him feel better, trying to distract him from his headache. And then eventually he says, hey, I've got to go. I'm coughing up blood. And so I panic. Major panic, because he told me he had a brain tumor. So I'm thinking coughing up blood, pounding headache, that doesn't sound good at all. So I tell him, you need to get to the hospital. And he never responded after that. I woke up the next morning to text from his supposed adopted kid. We're going to call him Tommy. So I wake up to a couple messages from Tommy saying, hey, is this Brody's friend? Is this Brody's friend? We really need to talk. And when I wake up a couple hours later and see those messages from earlier that morning that I didn't get, I say, yes, this is Brody's friend, and I never heard back after that. But I logged on to the roleplay website, and there was a status made by Tommy saying that Brody was in the hospital, and that he wasn't doing too good, and that he needed to go. Brody said, hey, I love you guys, but I need to go. Not, hey, it's my time to go. Hey, I'm dying, and I'm going to miss you guys, and I love all you guys. I've made arrangements for somebody to take over this account, kind of thing. He did make arrangements for somebody to take over the account. He gave the username and password to my friend Annie, who gave the username and password to her brother. Let's call him Frank. Okay, so Frank and Annie both have the username and password to his Greek mythology account on this website, okay? And there's another status a little bit later saying that this was Frank and that he needed to go talk to Tommy. He needed to go talk to Brody's kid. And I'm thinking, this is a really, really long-ass paragraph. I don't know how he was going to talk to Brody's kid, because Brody's kid is in the hospital with Brody, who is apparently in Massachusetts, or so he said, and Annie and Frank are in the Midwest. So that was when I finally started putting every single last red flag together. I know, it took me long enough to realize, hey, Brody is a dickwad. So I tell my friend Annie everything. I tell her my suspicions, but I'm worried, hey, she's really, really good friends with Brody. What if she doesn't believe me? What if she starts yelling at me saying, oh, you're such a bitch, you're a liar, this and that and that. How could you say that about a cancer patient? But thankfully that did not happen. My friend Annie is such a wonderful girl. She just believed me right away. She started saying, oh my God, I am so sorry he hurt you like this. I started telling her all of my suspicions about being catfished, and she's like, oh my God, I am so sorry he did this to you. I feel so bad. I'm the one that introduced you guys. I'm the one that gave you his Google Hangouts. This is all my fault. And I'm telling her, no, it's not your fault. It's mine for being an idiot, and it's his for being a douche. And so I start telling her everything, and she's like, my brother Frank didn't make that status. I sent her a screenshot of the status, and she's like, no, Frank Frank didn't write that. Because at this point, my catfish suspicions were just that, suspicions. I did not know for a fact whether or not I was actually being catfished or whether or not he actually had a brain tumor and things were going south on him. So I showed her a screenshot of the status and she's like, no. No? For one, that doesn't even sound like my brother, and for two, Frank has been asleep on my couch all day after work. He could not have made that status, and then she did confirm my suspicions. Hey, we live in the Midwest. Brody lives in Massachusetts. There's no way he could have gotten a hold of Tommy to talk to him. Like why? Yes, Frank does have the username and password to the account, as do I. So what we're going to do is, we now know he's catfishing. We are going to just change the username and password on him. We're not going to let him back into the account. So that happened. Brody can no longer get back into the account. Then that seemed to be the end of that. But later in the day, this is at about the 36-hour mark of the end of the story, I know. This is just so much. So I get a message later in the day from Brody saying, I am such a shitty person. And at this point, I was so done with all of this. So done with Brody and everything. But me being me, I wanted closure. I wanted an answer. So I say, why are you a shitty person? And then he tells me everything. He says, everything I told you was a lie. I'm completely healthy. I do not have cancer. I do not have AIDS. I do not have a kid. The jobs I told you were fake. My major I told you was fake. The only thing that I told you that was real was my name. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, if you lied about everything else, I don't care what you say, you're probably lying about your name too. But I didn't say that to him. He said, do you want the truth? And I'm livid. I say yes. I want the whole truth. I mean, of course, not knowing whether or not he's actually going to tell me the truth, I'm thinking, yeah, I want to hear what he's got to say at least. And so he says, okay, I'm a man. I'm 35. What? I'm 19 and you're 35 and you're trying to get with me? No. And he says, so, yeah, 35, 19, 35, 19. He's trying to get with me. He says it was just because he wanted to get to know me and stuff like that. He wanted to be friends, but he knew my rule about no one over 34, over 24, I mean. So he made up his age. And I don't know how that escalated into making up everything else, but it did. And so I just let him have a piece of my mind. I just let him have it. I told him so many stories about how I've been played before, how people said they loved me when they didn't, how this guy conned me into giving up my virginity to him. It was awful, and he knew all of this, and he had the audacity to play me like this again, and I just really let him have it about how that was not a good thing to do. And then I blocked him. And that was where that ended. So my friend Annie, she was really apologetic for a few days, saying, I had no idea he would do this to you. I'm so sorry. You must be so hurt. And I'm telling her everything is fine. But yeah, that's the end of the story. 36 hours start to finish, and all of that happened. And that was the time that I seriously, majorly got catfished. I will see you guys next time, probably with another story until I can get the equipment for a makeup tutorial. I love you guys. Leave a comment down below if anything like this has ever happened to you, your catfish stories. I want to hear them. I want to know if you guys want to see more of my stories. I want to know if you guys want to see more of me reading off messages I get on dating sites, that kind of thing. If you could leave a comment down below, like this video, and give me a subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Bye.